And everyone, thank you for joining us. Today, NCBA and the American Red Cross, the the American Red Cross, excuse me, National Capital and Greater Chesapeake Region is with us to host our webinar on hurricane and flood preparedness before, during, and after. Our presenter, Marco Johnson, is with the American Red Cross National Capital and Greater Chesapeake Region. And as we see, he's here with us today again. He's one of our favorites. Marco has served with the American Red Cross for over 10 years plus, a lead for the Reunification Safe and Well program. He is a demonstrator for hands-only CPR and a trainer in assisted living and long-term care facilities. In his other responsibilities, he supports the disaster services technology, the community preparedness education, the Be Red Cross Ready activities, and the Pillowcase Project. Welcome, Marco, and thank you for joining us. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and share how to be ready, be Red Cross ready before, during, and after. And we'll learn about the hurricanes and floods and what to do to be safe. Right? The American Red Cross does several different things. If you have heard about the Red Cross or have experienced them, please put in the chat, yes, I have heard about the Red Cross, that they teach life-saving skills. They provide a blood program, serve military families, provide international aid, reunification services. Marco is responsible for reunification services of the whole region and across the United States, working with other Red Cross reunification services. Red Cross plans and delivers the disaster relief and recovery services, working with local areas, nonprofits and government to help people recover from disasters. So it's very important to begin to understand the different roles that Red Cross does, and that you could help volunteer perhaps a little bit in one of these areas for yourself. You may have seen some people that needed emergency help or were in disasters, and I have many people that experienced the services of being in a Red Cross shelter, and then they come back and say, hey, I want to volunteer. So thank you very much if you're considering learning and being part of the Red Cross. One of the most important things that we have in before, during, and after, and being Red Cross ready is learning about using tools. And there's something called the First Aid app on the smartphones, and that can be downloaded. And once you have it on your phone, you don't need the internet. So what we're talking about is before, during, and after, you may need some of these tools. And find these tools, learn about apps. We have the Red Cross Emergency app that tells you what's going on and linked in with other partners and other alert services. And inside the emergency app is a whole school of showing you how to be prepared before, during, and after. It has checklist. It has be safe and well. So you have the whole webinar inside this emergency app from the Red Cross. Wherever you are across the United States, you'll be able to find alerts. Around where I am, there's something called Capital Alerts, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and Delaware. And the Red Cross has the alerts, working with FEMA and weather.gov. Learn about wherever you are from the organization, from the location, and you can find that where the roads are, where the flooding is, and what's open, what's closed, and more important, like how to be ready and how to respond, right? Help may be delayed getting to you. So today I'm learning about you, that you're the most important person to me right now, because I want you to be safe and take care of yourself and be prepared. Because if you're prepared and you know what to do and be safe, then you could help others, right? And you can even help responders when they do get there, right? There's a link to help you know about how to be prepared. And we talk about different kind of hazards, emergencies, disasters. We've got weather coming. It's hurricane season in some places, right? Then there's man-made things that happen where a hazmat vehicle overturns on the road, gases and things. And when you're prepared, it helps you stay safe. When you're prepared, it helps you reduce trauma. When you're prepared, it helps you mitigate. It helps you learn about things and adapt to the challenges. When you're prepared and you're Red Cross ready before, during, and after, guess what? It helps you recover quickly. Very important things to know about being prepared, being able to respond, and being able to recover. Coming into the hurricane seasons, one thing to be able to understand is about warnings and watches. What's the difference between a watch and a warning? And look at one way to be alert to things that when you sign up on all your alerts, you can say, yes, click on that, tell me about the weather. When a storm gets a name, then you better pay attention and start following. When the scientists give it a name, you are being informed and you're looking and finding out of what's going on. And then it does it by location. If you have people you know in another part of the country outside of the area where you are, you could follow more than one area to get alerts and be informed. We need to know about what's going on so you can plan having the proper supplies and things, right? One important thing on this slide that you really need to make a note of is follow instructions from authorities. Knowing what the plans are for your local area, knowing what your personal plans are, and how you can say, if the local authorities tell you stay where you are, lock down, or they say Potomac River's rising, you've got to evacuate, but you need to know what roads to use. Do you go or do you stay is always very important. So here's our friend looking at their plan, going through and seeing what they need for herself and for the family. Look at these different things that you need to have. It depends on how you can respond. So that's why we're understanding these different things about the medical, physical, what you feel about it. Are you strong? Can you recover from trauma? Think of your options, but always looking about taking an inventory of what you need and what you have now. Okay. Remember, it's about medicine, it's about water, food, things like that. When you have your alerts going on, that I hope somebody is starting to download the alerts. If you have some alerts already, please put yes alerts in the chat. I need to know how many people in the session already have some kind of alert on their smartphone, or they get something in the email, or you get a text alerts to your phone. Do you already have alerts? And you can follow the weather. The alerts will do that for you, and it'll show you maps and pictures. What do you need to consider for your personal plan? Do you shelter in place and do you go? We listen to authorities. And look at this pet. This pet is bigger than the children. But we have to think about everybody in your household. And if there's somebody coming or going, are they around town, school, work, shopping, right? So what do you need? And all of these things go into your plan. When we have to safely evacuate, if authorities say, okay, everybody, these streets are flooding real fast and we need you to go out and here's the way you go, then we need to know how to do that and be safe. The protective action of what you can take. So remember, seeing neighbors or other people evacuate sometimes help you decide, well, if everybody else is going, maybe I should. but mostly you'll get the warnings in your alerts, and you'll get the warnings and alerts that tell you, hey, it's here now, right? And then I got an alert one time and it said, yes, it's time for you to go and use this road down here. Important to build your support network ahead of time. So it's connect, connect, connect. Identify who can help you, who you can help. Look around you, your family, your friends, the neighbors, caregivers, right? The providers. This is what we're doing. Our part of our plan means connecting now before we need to do it. So before, during, and after. All the special needs. And where are you going to meet? Where's the safe place? When you're safe, then you call 911, right? So we're learning with everybody gets to be part of the plan and understanding what to do. Here's one of my favorite slides. This was had to evacuate the homes, and this person came to a Red Cross shelter and was ready. She had the little bags of food for the pets and was organized when they had to leave. So you were able to say, oh, good, I can't stay here anymore. Local authorities say there's buses that are going to take you to a shelter. And here we go. So be ready, be prepared. We talk about having kits. You have a preparedness kit if you have to stay where you are, shelter in place, lockdown, or if you authorities say go and you have to know where you're going. And here's some supplies. In the chat, if you can help me out with this, does anybody have a waist pack or a backpack? Does anybody have some of these things on the list? Do you have a little kit that you could stay in? Have you looked into your pantry? So say yes. What do you have? What is the thing do you have? Do you have some special needs or some supplies? How much food or water do you have? If you were locked down and you couldn't go anyplace, how long can you stay? Can you go 2 weeks in your own apartment? What's in your pantry? What's in your home? What if the water breaks down? Right? Things like that. This is what we're learning. We're learning about these. Do I need something special if I have to stay where I am, or if I have to go under the circumstances in an emergency or disaster? Okay. Across the country, around the region, we have all different kind of things, but extreme heat, we've had that this past summer. 3 weeks, it was upper 90s and it felt like hotter. And then, of course, we have the thunderstorms, tornadoes. So wherever you are, learn what kind of hazards because they create the emergencies and the disasters. So we're talking about some thunderstorms and some flooding, things like that, a hurricane. Learn where you are, where you go, and what kind of hazards you may need to have. Local, around many places, they have some thunderstorms and lightning. And so in the chat, tell me what causes thunder. In the chat, what causes thunder? And if you hear thunder, what do you do? What do you do if you hear thunder in the chat? And what causes thunder? These are important things to know, right? So lightning causes thunder, and if you hear thunder, you go indoors, right? Did you know that the thunderstorms bring the heavy rains, causing the floods? And sometimes it's okay by one street, but the other street has flash floods and the cars can't go down, right? The lightning is the most dangerous part. And what else? You see lightning before we hear the thunder. So go inside when you hear the thunder, and when you're indoors, don't touch anything that's plugged in, and watch out for the faucets and sinks when you have these storms coming. Lightning causes thunder. If you put that in the chat, you get 100 bonus points. When thunder roars, go indoors. Somebody's trying to wonder, should they go indoors or stay outside? I think we need to tell this critter here, somebody left their pet outside. All right, but a watch means you be prepared. A warning is take action, go indoors. All right. Talking about hurricanes today, it brings these high winds, it brings heavy rain. There's something called a storm surge that we found out in some areas, right? Flooding and tornadoes come from hurricanes. So when it gets a name, I'd be pay attention and looking at the speed and what are the different levels of the storms. Right? Wherever you are, we have different seasons, but sometimes you need to be ready for hurricanes even when you don't expect it nowadays, right? What happens? Look at this is hurricanes. Look at these pictures. These are hurricanes. The buildings and damaged, destroyed, and it turns up major highways and roads like pretzels, right? And then it takes down many times a lot of the communications and utility lines. Gas, you have to be careful. The gas lines get shut off, leak. So we're learning about watches and we're learning about warnings. So on a watch, you stay tuned for the updates. Remember, you already are learned. You need alerts on your smartphones or on that you get sent to your phone in your text. Evacuate immediately if you're told to do so, but you have to know where to go, where the shelters are. You take care of your kits. We're planning before, during, and after, right? We know where we're going. We know about evacuation routes, and we listen to these alerts and updates, right? So here's things you can do when we have a hurricane that's forecast. You have the kit to be at home, and you have documents and things that you already should have, your important documents and cash should already be ready. And how to go from local officials giving you that guidance, the how to evacuate, right? So, all right, when you planning it before, you got to store your water and your food and take care of secure the outdoors for the high winds, right? Knowing where to go, how to evacuate, what law enforcement or local government is telling you, and then they're saying be careful, but know where to go. You have your plan. You work with the plans of the local areas. If you have your apps and you have the Red Cross emergency app, it tells you where the shelters are and it shows you how to get there and where it's safe and what to do. So this is one of the most important things about having that emergency app from the Red Cross and other providers. During a hurricane, we're staying inside, away from the gas, avoiding the contact with flood waters, right? What do they tell you about floods? Turn around, don't drown, right? Don't say, oh, my car can drive through this. The flash floods in the road can even turn a car sideways, right? And you don't want to go in. You don't know how deep that really is, right? After the hurricane, you watch for the hazards that the hurricane caused. What about are other people safe? What about the power lines? Keep checking with the weather. Sometimes the hurricanes make a circle and come back, right? Watch out for the power lines. And many times, as you're trying to recover, there's the smell of the gas. Report that. See if your cell phone still works. Do you have it all charged? And do you have the emergency app from the Red Cross working? Right. You can protect your home. We learn things. If we didn't do it before, then we got during. We can start to keep doing things and recover quickly. If you're prepared and you've mitigated some of the things that could happen, then you can recover quickly. That's what I really want you to do. I want you to begin to think in terms of, hey, I can recover quickly when something happens. Turn around, don't drown in these floods. Has anybody seen a flood or been in a flood or know about a flood in the chat. Please tell me, yes, flood. I've seen a flood. I've known it. These are real pictures. These are not doctored up. This is real floods and happenings. Many of these hurricanes and floods have surprised the whole little village and town. That people didn't think that this could happen, right? So knowing about these things, how to prepare, where to go and where not to go. Very important. So we're staying tuned for updates, right? We're seeing if it's coming real quick, taking action, what to do, right? Here's more flooding. This has really happened. Can you imagine that all of a sudden the streets and the road next to your house can contaminate the water, can damage land and buildings, and change everything all around? And then, of course, afterwards, there's a lot of mold. You can tell by your alerts then you're getting very much informed. You're staying with things so you could be safe and you could help others be safe and you know where to go and how to lock down if you have to. But your weather alerts inside your apps are all connected. So very important to be informed. Here was a nice park and a road and it's gone. Turn around, don't drown, and try not to touch the flood water. It's become contaminated, right? And get away from where it's rising quick. Have you ever seen a sign that said road closed, high water? Well, here's a picture. They said, like, don't even try it, please. Don't walk here. And here's the posted flood hazards. What roads do you go? Learn the roads more than one way out from where you live or work. Okay, here's the power lines, steps to recover, right? And then you could check things, see what happened, and have people come and check your house where you live. There's things to do, right? Before, during, and after. The signs of tornadoes, don't wait for the warning. Already start listening to your alerts. Know what to do. Prepare to shelter. Check your kit, right? That's the watch. And the warning, we're going to then, our alerts will say, stay where you are or go. You have to know how to recover from it, disasters and emergencies, and see how resilient you were. And godly, we have things we could be doing, cleaning around, but be careful cleaning up afterwards. The Red Cross and other volunteer organizations can help you with some supplies and equipment and being safe and taking care of what to do and how to recover. Remember that you had that plan in the beginning uh, before, and you set up your support network and people you can text or call or can come and help you after disaster. Very important to rely on your support network, right? What's going to happen after disaster? When they're big and bad, when they're small, sometimes remember if you're in another part of town or another part of the area and you were okay, the people who were caught up in that flood, in that hurricane, they may have lost everything. So when you have taken care of yourself and you have a plan and you have your backpack and your fanny pack and your kit, then you could help others cope. Maybe they had to evacuate and they've lost everything. Maybe they got hurt trying to get out of the roof was falling on them, things, right? So maybe they know somebody they can't find or they lost their pet. Not uncommon in a hurricane or a flood to lose a pet. There's some trauma. You now can help somebody because you have a plan and you took care of yourself. So if you take care of yourself, you might be able then to come and help Marco because you know what to do now. And that's important to me. Okay. After the disaster hits, then you could take a breath and help others. So that's one thing we teach and we share with golly, take a breath. You were prepared. You had something happen. It was big and bad, and you're recovering, right? So before, during, and after, you had that where I'm in the middle of it, but I prepared, I mitigated how bad it could be, and I reduced what could happen. I'm safe, right? My friends, my family, my office workers, my group is safe, my household is safe, and let's go from there. So we are teaching people, if someone's in the moment and they're not feeling real good and they're stressed out, you can help them breathe. You take a deep breath, you be calm, and learn about these things and say, okay, let me help you breathe. People tell me that all the time. Said, Marco, you haven't even taken a breath in an hour. So take a breath. Ah, okay, I'll help you clean up after the flood, right? About was there no more power still? Some people go 9, 10 days or longer without power. And what do you do? And what kind of power, solar generators and things like that did you prepare? Okay. Remember about helping others and all how it can be distressful. Take steps to help and manage the stress, right? You need to get help yourself. You need to say, wow, I lost everything, but I'm physically okay. Now I'm helping other people who also don't have anything anymore. And we're going to see how we can do this. We're going to have some case managers help us and find out what our response can be, how to prepare, right? There's different things we can do. There's different sites of how to get help and how to prepare for emergencies, right? So what do you think? What do you think? In the chat, do you have some questions? What do you think? We have some things that are very important. We're talking about what do I need to do before while it's nice and peaceful, but how do I be ready? Many times it's easier to plan if I just stay where I am. So I remember one time when I was in Washington, D.C., up in the office, and we had a lockdown because in the mailroom they got an envelope with some white powder in it and nobody could leave the building. And at that time, the most important person was the one that sat up in the front of the office greeting people, had a big bowl of M&Ms. And guess what? Those were the days we didn't have a kid at work. I didn't have a bunch of candy bars. I didn't have enough water for me. Now we have things at offices. We have the kits and we have some backup food and we have some water in the closet. So wherever you are in your work, if you're in a nonprofit organization, you're at school, libraries, rec centers, think of where you are and how would you stay there? Then if you have to go somewhere, do you have a vehicle? What would you put in your vehicle? If you got caught for 24 hours on the Interstate 95, like happened a little while ago here, 24 hours, 40 to 50 miles, ice and snow, and those people really learned of what they should have had in their car and they didn't. How's the chat doing? You have some questions?
Hi, Marco. Yes, we do have a question. First of all, let me say thank you. Such an excellent presentation, as always. Just for the audience right now, we've had a lot of information, and you are so usually give us so much information. Just wanted to know for the audience if they wanted to review and reference any of the information. Will there be a PDF of slides?
Yes, I'm going to
Okay.
make a little packet. And I think somebody in the chat wanted me to go back to a slide.
Yes, they did. Yes.
Which one was that? I can do that.
Call. Mm,
Which one?
okay. Give me 1 second. Um, I believe it could be this one, helping cope. Yes, helping others cope. Please go back to
About,
the.
about the trauma that could happen. And
Yes, let's start from here. Yes.
yeah, this is very important. If many of us are also caregivers besides any other job we have, people around us are needing help, or we work and volunteer in facilities that are caregiving. right? A lot of volunteering going on, helping people who have had some trauma, some stress, because they know. Sometimes I say, well, what's wrong? It didn't, the hurricane didn't hit where your house was. No, but it hit my neighbor a half a mile away, and all the trees came down on their house and things. So it's not always the person right in the middle of the disaster who's having some trauma. This is where caregivers are very important to know about what happened and what are you thinking about. And how many people have pets, right? And take their goldfish for a walk, right? It's like, I don't have a pet. I'm so busy. I'm a runner. I run Marine Corps marathons and things. But guys, when my friend lost their pet in a flood, one of those big bad floods, after the hurricanes, I was saying, well, what do I say? I mean, this person for months was still missing their pet, and they didn't want another one yet. So it's being compassionate and being a caregiver and looking around you to see the trauma that's come from some of the disasters. That's why we learn how to help people mitigate the impact and help them be resilient if they plan ahead of time. They'll feel better. They'll feel better. And there's another slide they were interested in.
Yes, the resources slide. This one.
Yeah. So there's a nice checklist for older adults that I use, and sometimes they're in assisted living facilities where I volunteer, and I do a lot of work in showing the older adults in these facilities. I remember I was had a session on Be Red Cross Ready, and some of these same kind of things we're talking about. And guess what? A dear lady in a wheelchair said, Marco, I'm going to tell my 12-year-old granddaughter all what you just said today. I was there for a lunch and learn at a care facility. And so here's some, don't, everybody can help. Everybody can be part of the sharing. Remember, we said build your network, your family network, and your friends. Um, and then, of course, there's these resources on financially. If you've really lost everything, we can open up a case with Red Cross and with Family Services. We're all connected and have partners. Don't think you're alone. I need you to have hope. We can do this. We can get through these things.
And Marco, I will send, if anyone puts their email in the chat, I will be happy to send them these links for the resources as well.
Oh,
Okay?
excellent. Good.
All right. Yes. And just to let everyone know, also a PDF is available. If you would like a copy, I will be happy to send that to you should you put your email in the chat. All right. Thank you. So, Marco, one question that we have is how often should you and or your family practice your emergency plan?
Well, one important thing is your plan is flexible and is sort of, it's a growing checklist of what you think you need for person by person in your household or your group or where you work. And so we call it, like, some people take, one of my favorite ones is Thanksgiving. Some people have Thanksgiving, and that's when you have family come over and friends. And so once a year, twice a year, birthdays, holidays, I try to make it easy and say, some people, do you still turn clocks back? Some people check their smoke alarms once a year or every 6 months. So if you're doing something on a cycle, that's a good time, right? If it's New Year's and you're going to do things, we have 10-year smoke alarms now, but we still like to check them, every 3 months or 6 months. So make that in your plan something that you'll really do, please. It's like, oh, Marco, yeah, I'm going to do mine monthly. Then when I see you next year, I said, okay, you said your plan said you were going to check your kit monthly, and how many times do you do that? Well, once. So be realistic. Check your pantry. What kind of food do you have? Food and water that you could stay where you are uh, for 3 to 5 days or longer if you're not allowed to go out because it's flooded or there's terrorists out there.
Mm. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. We wanted to know, was there a national resource list available for temporary placement in case of um, you have to evacuate during an emergency, or is it statewide? But pretty much, is there a list, a national list available?
Um, there's plans available, and we probably would do research. Like you start off at your local government
Okay.
will have plans, and they'll have different kinds of plans, and they'll have a stay in place or evacuate plans. There are many times the purpose of a good question would be how many people have a paper map?
Mm.
Do you have a paper map at home? And if they tell you on your alerts or you hear on the radio that the main streets are closed around you, but you have to get out, the river's rising, how many ways can you get out? Do you still have a paper map if the internet goes down? Or maybe you get a text or you still get alert on the radio. So it's interesting to say nationally there would be, remember that disasters and emergencies happen locally. So your local authorities, governments, uh, we have something called volunteers in disasters and stuff, right? Volunteer organizations in disasters. So there's different places that start locally. They will have plans to see about what to do with different kinds of disasters. Then you step up. It starts locally. Then you go up to your counties, your cities, your districts, your boroughs, your parishes, and then states, commonwealths. Finally, if there's a governor, the governor declares here in Southern Virginia already, we're having some floods now. It's been 2 days. It's hit Virginia. They gave it a name. It hit Virginia and two other locations up in the East Coast. So the hurricane got a name already coming up the river. So we have to watch that. So that's what we're doing. We're thinking about things. We hear it. And nationally, well, if you
Don't
have
let
your
it
Red
slam,
Cross,
please.
if, yeah, if you have your Red Cross app and other apps, the FEMA has an app. Your local state probably has an app like we have Virginia.gov and it has its emergency apps. Then you can follow it when you get the hurricanes and the floods and disasters get a name and they get a level. They have levels 1, 2, 3 that are local, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I've been deployed with the Red Cross as a supervised shelter for level 7 disasters in California fires. So I get deployed as a shelter supervisor when things really happen. Let me tell you, that's why I'm saying learn about these apps, learn about alerts. If you don't need them all, then you could always just delete them and remove them. Find one that works for you. That's how you can pinpoint. Remember, if you open an app, it'll say Washington D.C. for Marco, right? And Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Ohio. But I also then can
Slam
click in the
down.
app. I can click California. I can click Hawaii. I mean, I can click other locations and that'll give me my national maps and it'll tell me the weather. And you can get your alerts, look in there and see how many locations it lets you have across the United States. And then it'll tell you when things hit there. On the slides, didn't we have where I showed it was a picture inside the emergency first aid app where all the shelters were? Little red flags, following the trail of a disaster. So that's why it's good to be informed look at these, weather.gov, or look inside your emergency Red Cross app, or some other app that you like is convenient for you. But this are dynamic things. But working before, you are learning about the plans that your local organizations have, your local governments have, because they have to plan locally because disasters and emergency hit locally. But it can go all the way up to the governor to make and declare emergency for parts of the state or the whole state. Then when they do that, Red Cross already has memorandums, understandings, and partnerships with family services and local governments across the United States. So we know where we're going to be, but we sort of don't publish that because that depends on the local organizations and local governments. They have to make the declaration. Then it'll be in your app. Does that help?
Yes, yes, it does. So we start with our local um, communities, organizations, and governments and cities locally. Yes, that was very helpful, Marco. Thank you so much. So if a thunderstorm is miles away, I'm safe from lightning strikes, right?
No, lightning hits first, then the thunder. I think we had a slide on that.
Yes.
So
Okay.
that's why it's important to listen to the alerts that they'll tell you if there's a watch or a warning. They'll say, go indoors already because it may somebody else has reported the lightning before you see it. I think, didn't they tell you there's a record they had that lightning traveled a half a mile or something?
Okay.
You may not, it may surprise you.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
So
why
even
we're saying being informed with the radio or with the apps.
even miles away, we must go in as long as we see that cloud
Right,
or
right.
thunderstorm. Right. Good, good.
Yeah.
Okay. So we
That's why you need to learn about watches and warnings. Warning means get inside, do something, act.
yeah, good, good. Great, great. I'm going to turn to a caregiver question. So, how can caregivers prepare their loved ones to safely evacuate during these emergencies? If, as and you did have a slide about the disabled, even so, even some of our loved ones may be immobile or hearing impaired. But we're looking at for the specificity of, let's say, for the hearing impaired or the deaf, as they prefer to be called. What are some tips that you would give if that's the case for
But once,
one of our caregivers?
then you're going to be sharing before, early on when you plan, before anything happens. Guess what you're doing? With everybody around you that you care for, you plan ahead and you practice. You actually say, because to me, I said, oh, what? I've got somebody in a wheelchair and they're hooked up with an IV, and that's great granny. And guess what? I've been using the elevator, but now they tell me the power's out. You can't use the elevator. How do I bounce her down the stairs? Or what do I do? Well, think of these for your special case and who your the conditions and the signs and the symptoms. You could say, ah, here's the kind of thing. There's little apparatus things that you have that you rolled up with handles on it that you could carry somebody down separately, and then somebody else brings down the wheelchair. So you don't try to move them in the wheelchair. You can slide them over into this carry thing. So you could learn about it and you practice it, just like we do in school when the fire alarm bells. I have organizations that I work with, and at work we have fire drills, right? We have when the alarm goes off, here's active shooter drills. So practice things for all your special needs. I would practice with um, what does it really mean that this is real? Here's what we're doing. Here, see my hands. When you see me do this, it means like there's the symbols of SOS. This is real. let's practice our escape route, right? How do we get out of the building down to the bus or the van that's going to drive the people with all their equipment with them?
Okay.
Also, I have learned that there's portable equipment. So you could be daily using your regular equipment if you're staying in one place in the facility or the housing. But if you have to leave, I understand there's kind of portable temporary things that you could switch to that you may be hooked up to. But if you have to be hearing, then I want everyone to learn what are the hand signs and signals of this is an emergency. Hey, let's practice what we do if we have to leave. Right. So it's up to you to plan ahead and to practice, 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 because it's like I tell people practice going down the stairs, finding the fire exit, and knowing how to open that door that says only open in emergencies. How to use your arm, not your fingers or hands sometimes. There's a way to try to evacuate, try to escape a building. Very important for caregivers to plan, see what they assess the needs. Do I need some help in evacuating the person I'm caring for? Sometimes you need two people to help you.
Okay. Thank you, Marco. Yes. I have a question on rising flood waters. Now, you mentioned turn around, and we've heard it before, even on in the news here. Turn around, don't drown. But that could be difficult, especially in the middle of an emergency. You are in a heightened state, and let's say you're trying to evacuate, but floodwaters are tricky, right? So, what would you suggest or speak to or tell us that is one of the better ways to safely evacuate if you are in the middle of flood waters and swift flood comes up and you're trying to be safe?
Yeah, that's a say we could say, hey, this is real. Right down along the Potomac River by something called Mount Vernon, uh, like where they have museum stuff, and uh, George Washington Parkway. We just had that. We had a storm come through a couple, was it already a month or 2 months ago? And we had the flooding. We had it just rained and rained and rained for like 1 or 2 days here in Virginia, Washington, D.C., and parts of Maryland. And we had high winds. And there was two separate incidents on each side of this parkway. And it was where the water was flooding up on a beautiful, nice George Washington Parkway. And they tried to pull over because of the flood waters. But guess what? Those 70-year-old trees along the parkway, along the Potomac River, the flooding and the rain and the water and the wind knocked the tree on top of the car while the lady was in the car and killed her. So on one afternoon, within between 2 to 4, 6 hours from that one storm with that water, they try to pull over. What can you do? We lost, and another lady got a tree smashed on her and killed her while they were there. But other people said, well, I pulled over. I knew it was, I heard the warning. I got the alert on my phone while I was in my car, and I couldn't see hardly. The windshield wipers weren't doing anything. I'm telling you, sharing with you real things that happened. You could find it on the record here in Virginia and DC and Maryland. That particular storm stayed with us, got stuck, and went away and came back. That's what hurricanes do sometimes, come away and come back, and all those rains and floods. I'm saying communicate, and if you can, pull over and try to do something different. If you're caught in the middle of it, then there's a whole lot of other things I would tell you separately what to do. But I can't tell you here wearing this shirt. Um, but Try to be smart. That's why we say the warning means it's here. Not if it didn't happen around, you're over the hill. You're not by the National Airport in Washington, D.C. You're not down by Potomac River. Maybe it's raining. Oh, well, I'm going to go to get the grocery because I did not get my provisions when it said it's a watch. See, if you get your alerts, then you go to the store ahead of time
Yeah.
because it's a watch. You should have already had it before the watch. But
Yes.
you
Yes.
don't do it when it's a warning and it's hitting. That means it touched somewhere in your area, in your community, your neighborhood. It's somewhere around the area. And that's why alerts are kind of important. That will come right to your phone or right to the radio. So I've I've been told from the emergency manager's office and the police that 6 inches of water can turn a car sideways. If you think, oh, I can go through this. Also, they didn't know that underneath the floods had and the storm had already eroded a part of the road. I had a slide that showed the hurricane picked the road and twisted it like a pretzel. And that was a big, thick concrete road that'd been there 50, 80 years. That happens. You can't see Angela, you can't see what's under that 6 inches.
Yeah.
You go further down, it's 6 feet.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me if I'm already in it, how do I get home? How do I get to the office? Do I go to the school and pick up somebody? You know, what I want to get there because my pet needs food. I got to get home. So you're already in it. You really need a lot of information and be informed then. You pull over if you can. You can't see what's under that road.
Yeah.
So you need information. And then maybe the police will be coming by
Yeah. Yeah.
and they'll say, lady, right around this curve, there's no more road. But she was already there because she was in it, you're asking me.
Yeah.
That's why, knowing about that or even saying 911, they say call 911 and they said, well, police are on their way to put a barricade on there.
Mhm.
You're right. You're one of the first people there.
Yeah.
So when you're in it, you've got to take it. That's a time to breathe, isn't it? Take a
Yes.
breath. Take a breath and have some hope and say, hey, okay, call 911. Here's where I am. How's it look around the hill around the corner? Oh, your alerts might be telling you that.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
Remember,
thank you.
communicate, call somebody else
Yeah.
who's been listening to the radio or emergency, and then you may get more information than you have, especially if you're on the road and you're in the flood.
Okay. Yes, Marco. Thank you. Thank you. Again, such a thoughtful, informative, insightful, and just right on, may I say, the money for us, especially hurricane seasons here and floods. We've seen so many floods in the area. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Marco, for presenting and hosting, presenting rather, and we'll see you all again, and I'll keep you updated about another webinar that's coming up on the 2nd of October, and it is key components to healthy aging. Thank you, everyone. I'll give you back your time and day. Have a great, safe day. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Be
Thank you.
safe.
Yes. Okay. Good day. Bye-bye.